Hi guys, I'm Chris from Pinetop Jackson. I wanted to share a little Guitarchaeology project I did for my friend Brian from Arizona. If you don't know Brian from the channel Pickin' and Flippin', you should definitely check him out. He comes across all kinds of cool stuff down there in the desert regions of the southwest United States. Brian asked me to take a look at a guitar that belongs to a guy he works with. He said it's an old Japanese Suzuki from the late 70s or early 80s. And of course, I'm always happy to take a look at a guitar. He sent me some photos. Let's check them out. So here's the Suzuki that belongs to Brian's work buddy. Now I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but upon first glance, I don't think it's as old as they were thinking. I also don't think it was made in Japan. My gut instinct is telling me mid-90s, Chinese made, maybe Korea. Here's a shot showing the standard plastic bridge piece and a truss rod accessed from the sound hole. And here's the EQ. Looks like it takes a 9-volt battery. It's called an EQ7545R. Here's what it looks like from the backside, and we can breathe easy knowing it passed quality control. And here's a shot inside the body, under the bridge, showing the wiring running from the EQ to the piezo pickup. Now here's the sound hole label, but before we get into that, let's talk about the confusion that comes up when researching Suzuki guitars. When you talk about an old Suzuki from the 70s or 80s, you're most likely talking about the Suzuki Violin Company of Nagoya, Japan, founded in 1887. After World War II, the company was split into two separate entities, the Kizo Suzuki Violin Company and the Nagoya Suzuki Violin Company. And here's a photo from Reverb of a sound hole label from a Nagoya Suzuki. Kizo Suzuki went out of business in 1987 and sold all their machinery and parts to ESP. And then Nagoya Suzuki apparently stopped making guitars in 1989. But there are definitely Suzuki branded guitars made after 1989. I owned one myself. Back in the mid-90s, it said Suzuki M on the headstock. I don't remember what country it was from, but it was terrible. I wound up trading it for a Fender acoustic that honestly wasn't much better. Suzuki is a rather common Japanese name, and there is a third company involved with guitar manufacturing that has nothing to do with the others, and that is Suzuki Musical Instrument Manufacturing Company Ltd. This company started in 1953 in Hamamatsu, Japan, and is famous for selling harmonicas and, in 1985, purchasing the American Hammond Organ Company. So here's a sound hole label, and we see right away that this guitar was made by Suzuki Hamamatsu, which is not related to the other Suzuki companies we mentioned earlier. We see this model number SDG-2CE SB. The C indicates a cutaway body style, and the E means acoustic electric. The SB stands for sunburst. There's a space for a serial number, but it is blank. Also missing is its country of origin. Here's the back of the headstock, and we have a nice surprise, an identification label complete with serial number. A lot of times labels like these are torn and scratched off by a previous owner. And honestly, I can understand why it would be removed. It's not really tactilely appealing to have a sticker halfway loose on the back of your guitar. But for our Guitarchaeology, we're fortunate to have this still intact. The serial number reads S101-21130, and we see the words designed in Japan. Now, I've encountered tricky wording like this before, and it's a clue that it was not made where it's trying to point you to. This one says designed in Japan, and I'm telling you, if it was made in Japan, it would proudly say made in Japan. But we still don't know where it was made. Korea would be preferable to China, but there's no other markings we can see. I found this image from Evolution Music in Illinois. The sound hole label is very similar to the label of the guitar we're looking at. It's got the S in front of Suzuki, same font for the company name and Hamamatsu, these branches here. Only differences are this one is tan, whereas ours is more yellowish, and this one says made in China. And we still don't know for sure when and where it was made. There is one clue that can narrow down the date a little, and that's the label on the back of the headstock. It's got the CE mark. You may have seen this marking on electronic toys. I've definitely seen it on other guitars, most recently on my 2008 Starcaster. This CE means it was certified to conform to European market rules. Many products have to have this marking in order to be sold in European countries, and even products that are sold here in the US are likely to have it, so they can be sold anywhere, you know? This European Unity Conformity marking started in 1985, so if you see this mark, you know it was made after 85. It's not much, I know, but it's something. As for the country it was manufactured in, this sound hole label is so similar to the one we see for sale by Evolution Music, it just doesn't say made in China. China is my gut instinct, and I'm going to gamble that this Suzuki we found in Arizona was made in China a year or so before the example we see from Illinois. and in that time Suzuki Hamamatsu made slight changes to the label, including adding country of origin. It's the most educated guess I can make, and now, like so many of my other projects, we'll leave this Guitarchaeology open-ended and send the video out into the ether, where ideally someone who has had first-hand experience with this line of Suzuki's can tell us, boom, China 1995, or whatever it is. Thanks, Brian, for sending me these photos. Thanks, Evolution Music in Illinois, and thank you guys for watching. See you next time.